Left off at 1973, so now I'm going to 1974. But their last album with Mick Taylor, and I forgot to say, Mick Taylor was in the group since some of the recordings on Let It Bleed. During Let It Bleed, they were in between with Brian, that he wasn't in the group, and he was in the group before he died in 1969. But this is their last album with Mick Taylor. I'm getting the CD here, and the album is It's Only Rock and Roll. Good album. I think it's good. And some people think that, or the consensus seems to be that they didn't really have another good album until Some Girls, which they have a point, but I still think the albums in between are still really good. It's Only Rock and Roll. What songs are on here? If You Can't Rock Me is good. I love their cover of Ain't You Proud to Beg. The title track is great. To the Next Goodbye. It's great. Time Waits for No One. Dance Little Sister. It's great. And I love Fingerprint File. It's a very funky track and closes out the album just fine. So with Mick Taylor out of the band, they had to get another guitarist. And they found another guitarist in the form of Ronnie Wood, formerly of The Faces. And to this day, he is still in the group. And the first album I made with him, well, he's not. It's kind of like with Let It Bleed, in which they were going in between who was going to be the fifth member with Brian and Mick Taylor. With this one, it was between Mick Taylor and Ronnie Wood. So he is on a couple of the songs here, and the album I'm talking here. Again, I'm trying to show the CD first. I don't know what I'm doing here. Black and Blue, 1976. Funny story about how early I got this album. I think it was like the fourth Stones album I got. Mostly because I thought the cover was cool. Like, this is cool. This looks cool. Now, the music on here, I was a little let down by it, but over the years, it's underrated. It's really underrated. I think it's a very underrated album. I mean, they were going in between auditioning guitarists before they picked Ronnie, so this is, it looks like a beat-up copy of it on vinyl, but it's not the worst copy ever of it. In terms of favorite songs on here, Hot Stuff, great track. Hand of Fate, underrated. Memory Motel is wonderful. Hey Negrita, which Inspiration by Ron Wood, when I think he actually wrote it. Fool to Cry, which is still here on the radio, and then Crazy Mama closes out the album. The ones I'm forgetting are Cherry O Baby, which is okay. It's a cover, and Melody, Inspiration by Billy Preston. I don't know what was up with them and Inspirations here on this album, but whatever it was, overlooked. Now the next one I've already talked about before or mentioned, and it's an album that a lot of people think is their last good studio album, with the exception of one. I don't know. The album I'm talking about is Some Girls, 1978. Oh boy, this is a great album. And by this point, I don't think people were thinking that the Stones were capable of making an album like this. And it came out at the right time when there was new wave, punk, and you know, the Stones, after God knows how many years together, a little over 10 years, they made this wonderful album. And okay, so Miss You was on here. Big hit for them. Their last #1 hit here in the States to date. I don't know if they could pull it off. I don't think they could. But When the Whip Comes Down is great. Their cover of Imagination by The Temptations is great. Some Girls is good. Lies, not my favorite, but still good. Faraway Eyes is my favorite song off the album because it is hilarious. Respectable is wonderful. Before They Make Me Run is a good song from Keith. Beast of Burden is great. And then it all ends with Shattered. I feel like there's a song missing. No? Okay. And the fun thing with the vinyl is you get to change the faces with the die cut here. which I'm not going to do because it's a pain to get back in there. Step is an album that was a pretty big seller in 1980, but the reviews weren't too nice. And for me, I have mixed, no pun intended, I have mixed emotions about this album here. And that album is Emotional Rescue, released in 1980. At that point, I think Some Girls also worked because disco was around. Then by 1980, no one was really into disco anymore, but some of that still carries on to this album. I don't know, some people say it's the most underrated Stones album, others will say that it's crap. For me, I think there's more good songs than there are bad songs. Dance, Part 1 is good. Summer Romance is good. I like Send It To Me. It's a good reggae track. Let Me Go, it's pretty good. Indian Girl and Where the Boys All Go, I can do without. They're not very good. Down in the Hole does not belong on this album, which is what I love about it. Because it's so out of place with this album, because everything here is sort of Some Girls Part 2, but they just leave this really bluesy song in there. I think it's the best song off this album. Then you have the title track, She's So Cold. Those two you can still hear on the radio, and then All About You, which is a song from Keith, which I think was about his split with Anita Pallenberg, his longtime girlfriend, who used to be the girlfriend of Brian Jones. So there's some underrated songs. It's a pretty underrated album. I don't think it's god awful. The only songs I really don't like are Indian Girl, Where the Boys All Go, and All About You. So there's that. All right, next up is an album that people thought was a comeback for them. But in all reality, the album was mostly consisted of outtakes and just them finishing them up and making them sound like complete songs. And that album is Tattoo You, 1981. I do have it on CD as well. This is my uncle's copy. So, can we go there? Excuse me. All right. Tattoo You, great album. Love this album. All right. Start Me Up. You still hear it on the radio today. Great song. Hang Fire, underrated. Slave. The CD version has an extended version of it. So there's that. Little TNA, great song from Keith. Black Limousine, great steel guitar or slide guitar from Ronnie, which he fought for his credits on, by the way, from what I've read. Neighbors is good. Worried About You, love it. Tops. Heaven, fittingly sounds heavenly. No Use in Crying is okay. And then it ends with Waiting on a Friend, which was also a big hit for them, and you can still hear that on the radio. So yeah, this was a very successful album back in the day. So Tattoo You. Next studio album, I'm not really a fan of. And that album is 1983's Undercover. Yeah, this one, what do I say about it? It's not completely bad. There are some good songs on here, but my issues with it is that it's not consistent as Tattoo You or Some Girls or even the lesser albums that are not considered all that great, like It's Only Rock and Roll, Black and Blue. It's just not as consistent as those. So hold on here, I'm closing out a window here. Okay, these are my favorite songs off the album, and there's only really 3 of them. Undercover of the Night, She Was Hot, and Too Much Blood. Everything else I can do without. And I think by this point they were just going back to, I think their minds were in the gutter with this one. Tie You Up in the Pain of Love, Wanna Hold You, well that's not too bad, Feel On Baby. I can't even remember most of these songs. Pretty Video, Too Tough. All the Way Down, okay, I'll admit that All the Way Down is a bit catchy, but the chorus is She Went, yeah. So, yeah, this was a big misstep compared to Tattoo You, but it only got worse from there. Dirty Work, 1986. Oh boy. At this point, Mick and Keith, there were a lot of tensions between them, and that led to this album's failure. It might have sold well. I mean, Harlem Shuffle did get, I think it did reach the top 5 at least, but otherwise, this is not a very good album. It's painful to listen to. There's only 2 songs I like here, really. One Hit to the Body and Harlem Shuffle. That's it. And along with them having their falling outs of Mick and Keith, they also suffered the loss of who many people consider to be the 6th Stone, Ian Stewart. Of course, they called him Stu. I think he died December 1985. I think he was waiting in the doctor's office and he just died there from a heart attack. Horrible. Horrible, horrible. And there is a hidden track on here, the 11th one. It's untitled, and it's a piano track of Stu, which is a nice touch, but this is not a very good album. Can I pick any other songs here? Fight, I guess, is okay. Hold Back, I can't remember. Too Rude is a reggae sort of track. My favorite comment about this album comes from Ronnie Wood. And he says in his autobiography that you know that things are bad when he's co-writing most of the songs on here. He even admits it's not a very good album. So, yeah, there we go. All right, the next album, 1989, I think this one came out. Yeah, 1989. Steel Wheels. This one's a slight improvement. I mean, there are some weak spots on here, but I think it's pretty underrated, if you ask me. In terms of favorites here, Sad, Sad, Sad's good. Mixed Emotions, which is a bit of a hit for them. Rock in a Hard Place. Can't Be Seen is pretty good. I personally like Almost Hear You Sigh. Continental Drift is a bit weird. I'm experimenting a little that time in the late 1980s, I don't know. And then ends with Slipping Away, which is a great song from Keith. Better than Dirty Work, but that's just me. So. And after that album, Bill Wyman left. He thought 30 years was enough, so they went on as a 4-piece, although they did get a guy named Darryl Jones to play the bass, but he's never credited as a full member. So they became a 4-piece band.